Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and we're upping our game a little bit. We're sorry about the audio. We're hoping there are not going to be any kind of streaming issues. It seems like we have good internet here.
Yeah, no,
American internet. Yeah. Hey, look at this. We are in Cleveland, Ohio. I am with Andrew from Action for Assange. And, we've been talking about kind of nuanced things, and I thought that this would be a good time to not only give you a Julian Assange update, but he made the comparison that probably the two most important and notorious prisoners right now, one in the U.S., one trying to be extradited to the U.S. wrongly, one in finally custody for, I guess, justice. I hope so. It could be the injustice system, but on the other side of the spectrum, but then unjustly trying to take our free speech. And they are by far the two most notorious prisoners of our era.
Absolutely. One of them notorious in the sense of preying on children, and the other one notorious in the sense of preying on the predator class.
Yeah, it's really nuts. And, just from the conversations we had in the last hour or so since I got here, I said, let's do kind of like an Ask Me Anything. So I'm going to let y'all get your questions in over here. Maybe we'll put them up on screen. Maybe we won't. I'm going to make big decisions soon, guys. I don't know. But get your questions in on everything Ghislaine Maxwell, everything Julian Assange, how you can get involved in the activism. And actually, let's start with that. Let's actually tilt it just a little bit like that. Oh, look at that. Perfect. Tell people not only how you got involved, but what's actively going on, especially for September, and how they can get involved in that.
Yeah, so I'm one of the hosts over at Action for Assange. 2 times a week on Tuesdays and Saturdays, we host the Free Assange Vigil, which is basically picking up where Unity for J left off, because the members of Unity for J had other life commitments and other things. And when that series of vigils came to an end, the Unity for J vigils, I was literally just an activist on the ground. I'm a Green Party member here in Ohio. I'm a registered libertarian in California. And I was just in a particular position in a certain period of time where when Julian got arrested, I went to D.C. when he got pulled out of the prison. And it turned into just a time of reflecting, because in the 8-hour drive out there, I realized that not everybody can just drop everything and go to a protest and go stand up for what they believe in. So that's where the idea of just doing what I could with where I was. And so I just went out and started putting posters up on poles. One thing led to another, and shout out to Anonymous Bites Back. It's another YouTube channel that puts out a stream. They connected myself and Taylor Hudak. Long story short, we've managed to get, last time, send Taylor to London in February to cover Julian's case on the ground, and then we held a week-long protest in D.C. in support of Julian, end of February, beginning of March, during the time that this first round of extradition hearings was going on. This September, we're going back again, but it's a 3-week trial. So we are crowdfunding it. We're trying to raise about $10,000. We're already about $2,200 into making our goal so far.
Awesome.
But we got about 70 days left before Julian actually goes to, before his, we call it a rendition hearing now, because we got corrected by a French journalist. But essentially that is coming soon, in September. We're a little over 2 months away from Julian Assange and our free speech being put on trial, because if Julian's sent here to the United States, it's essentially over. The Eastern District of Virginia has an almost 100% conviction rate. The judges are absolutely insane with the way that they go after whistleblowers and journalists for literally exposing accurate information. So if you're able, I'm sure we can put it up in the show notes afterwards, but donate and share the link to our GoFundMe. Because getting literal asses in the street right now in support of Julian is one of the biggest things. Because if he's allowed to be extradited to the U.S., it doesn't matter what else you believe in, we lose the ability to have a free press and an actual open, aggressive, anti-establishment journalism.
And I don't think that people really understand how big this will be, because this, as much as, people want to be fantasists and think there are superheroes in this administration, it's this administration that's put pen to paper on this.
Right.
And with their counterintelligence strategy of 2020 to 2022, where in the same sentence, not even the same paragraph, they're putting Hezbollah, ISIS, North Korea, Iran, Al-Qaeda, with
Activists, leaktivists, hacktivists, and public disclosure organizations.
And
literally, the local fucking news is now listed as a terrorist organization because they have the ability to spread information against the public, against national interest.
Again, that should alarm everybody because when you realize what that means, it's anything we want to keep from you, we will. And if you, somebody who's an ideological individual, decides to give that to another person, you are by definition a public disclosure organization.
And if the precedent is set in Julian's case that the United States can pull a citizen of Ecuador and citizen of Australia out of the Ecuadorian embassy and then send them to a country that they've never been a citizen of for reporting on that country, that's going to give Saudi Arabia the right to pull anyone out of El Salvador that they want to, or give China the right to pull anyone out of the United States that they want to. And we've seen how gross these abuses of power can become just with the way that journalists are killed around the world right now.
And again, Julian Assange has never been convicted or charged, really, with any crimes. The crimes they're charging with now are basically I believe it's now 17 parts in that indictment.
Yeah, there's 18 charges total. One of them is the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act charge, which is conspiracy to commit computer intrusion. And then the other 17 fall under the Espionage Act, which is literally just an antiquated piece of legislation used to attack anti-war activists since its inception.
So, you're blowing up.
Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. So, guys, you need to understand this. He exposed war crimes on all fronts of the predator class. Eric Schmidt, in his book, The New Digital Age with Jared Cohen, gives a large weight to the power of WikiLeaks and future organizations that are leaking things, and says that yes, we must, encourage leaks from our adversaries. However, we have to go after and prosecute fervently people that are revealing our secrets. Okay, thumbs this video up, subscribe, and share, by the way, guys. Let me see how many people are watching. 179. Excellent. We are going to take your questions, your comments. But before we do that, really think about how incredible this is. There's no doubt they knew where Ghislaine Maxwell was for at least the last year. I just did a video with Dan Dix on it. I'll briefly discuss it now. Essentially, you had those reports by the Daily Mail that she was in Boston on the East Coast with that tech billionaire, or millionaire. He wasn't a billionaire. It turns out he's the guy that, gets the LLC, buys the house in cash. She's on the East Coast. They must have known all that other stuff was disinformation because the upper echelons, the FBI, the NSA, the CIA, Homeland Security, they know what's going on. Now, did the FBI agents that were working the case? Maybe not. You know what I mean? But I'll guarantee there's some slithery little infiltrator in there.
Oh, all they would need to do is go to the fusion centers where the FBI, local police, CIA, NSA have local hubs where each one of them can communicate and access the other one's databases.
Yeah.
So it would have been something as easy as working through that to be able to actually figure out where she was between all the agencies.
So basically the big fear for me is that this is more cleanup crew nonsense, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to have some limited hangout. You're going to marginalize a lot of things. And you might throw a couple people to the wolves, but the bigger network is not taken down. Now, unfortunately, on the other end of the spectrum, Julian Assange and WikiLeaks is the biggest and best network we do have for public disclosure to this day due to documents like the OPCW documents that prove there was no chemical attack in Duma. And outside of that, anybody that could rise up out of Assange is going to be thoroughly discouraged or possibly arrested or killed because of these new policies. And they're going to say, look, we just took an Australian citizen who never broke the law, brought him over here after we tortured him in prison.
For almost a decade at this point, between house arrest, solitary confinement inside of the embassy, and now I think we're at 452 days that he's been inside of Belmarsh prison.
It's nuts.
Yeah, this is the second birthday that he's spent there. July 3rd is Julian's birthday. He turned 49 a few days ago. While in solitary confinement, 23 hours a day.
I can't imagine it, guys. So, listen, I promised that we would do some Ask Me Anything stuff with a little bit of production quality here. So that's what we're doing. Well, let's see. Bam, there we go. Right around there. Let's make it the live chat because I know you guys will hate me if I don't, but it's probably going to jump. So don't hate me. So let's see. There we go. Dun, dun. We got a little bit of production quality today. So live chat it is. It went that way. We're going to scroll all the way back up to the top. And there we go. So the brain says Kanye equals the first black president.
So this is an interesting thing. Most people don't know this, no, I'm thinking of the wrong person. I lied. Continue.
Continue. Okay, good. Ghislaine did not. You notice how they are making it like Ghislaine now more again, but her name's Ghislaine.
Yeah.
It's not Ghislaine. Listen, I made the same mistake, in the beginning covering it all the way through.
It's a fucked up.
Well, everybody seems to. I wonder if she's introduced herself one way to one person and others to others.
Oh, she probably has so many pseudonyms. She is whoever she needs to be to get whatever, not contraband, but compromising material on whoever she's after.
What's up, Melanie? How we doing? It's good to see you. Hi from Wisconsin. Erica, how is Wisconsin? It's on the list. But I actually got to get my car looked at. I got my engine light on. I'm hoping it's just an O2 sensor.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hope. Joe Biden owns a private island across from Jeffrey Epstein Island. I don't know if that's true. Show me some evidence of that. Blessings from Florida. Emojis. Hey from the UK. Where is Julian Assange now? Belmarsh Prison. Tell people for how long.
So it's 452 days since Julian Assange, I think, maybe 453, since Julian Assange was taken from the Ecuadorian embassy to Belmarsh Prison following a $4.2 billion international monetary loan fund to the nation of Ecuador. And shortly following that international monetary loan fund, they had the neoliberal tax expansion to pay back the IMF, which caused the nation of Ecuador to go into mass protests and riots. So literally the purchase of Julian Assange caused the government in Ecuador to be forced into exile, to the point that the current sitting president has arrested Correa, I believe his name was.
Okay.
The previous president of Ecuador. They have him in prison, and he's still running for vice president, while the country's in protests and the current president has moved out of the country.
So here's the thing. We're already now on a pace to have third world bullshit like that happen here.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I don't like Trump, let's start with the Cheney crew. Until we can put Dick Cheney in prison and Don Rumsfeld in prison and Paul Wolfowitz. I'm just going back as far as they're still alive.
I was just going to take it a step back to Iran-Contra.
Well, those are the Iran-Contra crew.
They even got out of prison since then.
Well,
pardoned, just let free.
Well, Bill Barr. Mm-hmm. He's, again, the youngest attorney general ever under that cleanup crew. Yep. I get it. Listen. The thing is that Bill Barr isn't going to prison. If they start putting, if somehow they get Trump or any of his crew to go to jail, it ain't going to be Bill fucking Barr. Mm-hmm. It ain't going to be John Bolton. It ain't going to be Jim Mattis. It ain't going to be Gina Haspel. Nope. It's not going to be anybody that serves the current power structure still, which is the old power structure built by those people in previous administrations. Mm-hmm. I get it on behalf of others, but you got to understand, this leviathan of a national security state we live under would not be possible without that Cheney crew during the Reagan administration, all the way back. We're talking when George H.W. was just the vice president, with the National Programs Office completely revamping continuity of government and what everybody refers to as the shadow government.
Yeah. Well, we do long-form interviews on Action for Assange. We've had Jason on a whole bunch. We had Bill Binney and Ray McGovern on last Tuesday. It was our one-year anniversary special.
Awesome.
And
two great guests, guys.
Yes. And they basically summed it up best by saying, if we don't see prosecutions for the manufacturing of Trump Russiagate, for the FISA abuse scandal, for all of those processes that allowed them to spy on President Trump's campaign, regardless of how you feel about President Trump, then we as citizens have lost total control of our government. That there is no going back for it, because what it does, if we can't prosecute the John Brennans, the Obamas, Clapper, that entire cabal, so to speak, of people, then it's going to allow every president going forward to be able to take that same level of aggressive spying against their political opponents across the board.
Well, that's again where we put it. They put it into action, and people got to see it. Yeah. Now, I want to make this abundantly clear. This is not the first administration that has done things of that nature. There have been different moves, and what do I mean? There's a big difference between when Bill Clinton usurped George H.W. Bush. George H.W. Bush didn't want it anymore. He allowed that to happen. He was his boy in Arkansas. Again, when we go back to those Iran-Contra days, the original name of the Barry Seal movie that was a big whitewash with Tom Cruise was supposed to be Mena. It was supposed to literally be Mena, Arkansas. The director of that's father was one of the lawyers for the prosecution in Iran-Contra. And he knew he wasn't allowed to say everything.
Yeah.
Not even close. But my point being is that you have this network that's always used that against their political opponents. Ross Perot was somebody who really had the same fate as Trump in an era where it was even more impossible for somebody like him to enter. You know, Trump did it the smart way, because if Trump had done it third party, there were already mechanisms in place. They would have been able to block him. Mm-hmm. But because he took the Republican nomination, that's when the real dirty tricks had to be. Now, Ross Perot, and my generation remembers, at least vaguely, he took the world by storm. There were people talking about voting for him all over the place. And he had things happen to him behind the scenes, 100%, guys. So the idea that this is the first time they've done that, maybe against a presidential adversary on that level, possibly, but they've done those kind of things before.
Oh, I mean, even if it's not as public as this one was, it can just literally be done at the stroke of a keyboard, to where they have access to all these databases behind the scenes. That's one of the things that Vault 7 actually revealed. It came out in a news article recently that the CIA had no idea that even got out until WikiLeaks released it, that they were taken completely by storm. And it's because they were keeping their most powerful cybersecurity tools on a server that didn't keep track of logs for who accessed it, who didn't actually have the highest levels of encryption that you can have on there, literally so that way they could access it to use it for nefarious reasons like that.
Exactly. So let's explain that. It wasn't that highly guarded, so that when you have these pseudo agents that don't really work for the FBI or the CIA, they again, they're contractors, right? They work for a third party. They don't have a paper trail. They somehow get in through, again, nefarious terms as an alias. They get access through some other means that doesn't look bad. Oh, you know, it was just Jim getting in the guy to fix the printer.
Yeah. And
he gets access to the other room, and that doesn't have the type of encryption it does, so that they can then utilize those tools against their enemies. It's all there. Let's take some more questions. Thumbs the video up, subscribe, and share. We're here with Andrew from Action for Assange. Action for Assange. Please go check them out. Not only on YouTube, but they have a Rockfin as well. Let's keep going. Did you know about, again, show me evidence about Biden's private island.
That's actually...
Is it real or is it not? I can't look it up live right now. I wish I could.
I don't know if it's real or not, but it's one of those elite tricks. It's the buy an island and fortify it of the Thelmic religion, the underlying Satanisms. So that way, when you have to run from society because they discover your crimes, you have a place to hide yourself.
Oh, you're saying islands of that nature.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, but we stick to the facts here. If there's some evidence, somebody hit me in the DMs. Hey, from Eugene, Oregon. Hey, how you doing? How does a federal judge that ordered the destruction of Epstein docs affect the Ghislaine case? It's a great question. First of all, let's get some things straight. The case that Ghislaine Maxwell is in, that the federal judge has ordered documents to be destroyed, is one of a civil nature. And unfortunately, we've been waiting now for well over a year and a half, I believe, at this point, for all those documents to be released. They were supposed to be released. Those 10,000 plus documents were not released. There was a small number of them. It was 2,000 plus pages. We covered them. Then there was further legal battles. We covered that. Yes, it is abhorrent that not only did the judge order that they destroy documents that were already in their possession, but they give proof of that destruction. It can't be legal.
Well, this is where that counterintelligence document comes in. Because in the absence of public transparency, the only way to access this information is through illegal means, through hacktivism and through leaktivism and through public disclosure. So the ramping up of those things, those mechanisms to prosecute the hacktivists and leaktivists go hand in hand with this.
It's exactly the same thing because, again, this judge wants the physical documents that are out there destroyed. The only way they could get into the public arena without Virginia Giuffre Roberts breaking the law or lawyers breaking the law is somebody illegally now accessing from her and then publishing them. That's the only way she wouldn't get in. But then again, whoever publishes it, whether it's a dwarf in the netherverse, somebody in China or Ukraine or Russia or Wall Street or whatever, whether it's for the public good or not, they are now a terrorist, a cyber terrorist, and they're part of that public disclosure organization, Hezbollah thinking. But meanwhile, our president can give a speech yesterday. I forgot when I was talking about Trump's victory garden earlier on the ride, where he brags about killing Soleimani and Baghdadi. Baghdadi has so many nefarious little intelligence connections. How do you believe that guy wasn't manufactured by the system?
The same man who in 2016 ran on a platform of I love WikiLeaks, show me the WikiLeaks.
Can't get enough of WikiLeaks.
Is responsible now for committing the type of war crimes that Julian exposed in the Iraq war logs, the Afghanistan war diaries, collateral murder, and so forth.
Listen, Baghdadi, whatever. He was your boy anyway. He knew what he was getting into when he was dealing with a den of vipers. I got no problem with that takeout. Soleimani was a man so beloved in his country of Iran that we fucked with for so long that he had millions of people in the streets at his funeral. You can't.
There is no U.S. equivalent leader. There is no one in this country.
Thank you.
Because Soleimani prevented a genocide. Soleimani prevented the onslaught and destruction of their entire race of people. And then you're going to brag about hitting him with a missile.
In Iraq, after he helped get out ISIS, the literal enemy you guys helped create with your Chevy trucks and your AK-47s and your John fucking McCains. Fuck you. Like, I don't know what else to say.
So you need to get involved with Steve with this, because Steve's starting to do an ASMR segment where he's going to talk shit about war criminals.
Well, he makes food?
No, like the whisper talking.
Oh, is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's...
Because I saw... it's ASMR cooking is what I saw.
Yeah. He's going to do ASMR war criminal bashing. Because what we figure is it'll be
That's what that stands for, ASMR. Oh, what's that?
I have no idea what it even stands for, but it's literally 3 directional sound microphones that you whisper into, and he's going to do it, and they're going to be about like Mike Pompeo, John Bolton, and all of these war criminals that have been exposed, specifically and hopefully for someone in the intelligence community to be like, this is fucking weird. You have to see this.
I mean, listen, I'm for anything that takes advantage of pop culture and entertains.
Yeah.
And informs, obviously.
So you should get in with Steve on that, because that would be, you guys could go hard.
That's very true. We should write it.
It would be like redoing one of your documentaries in whisper form.
Do you think she negotiated her arrest? Not from what I heard. But again, I don't know.
Didn't they email her a warrant? Wasn't part of her case the legal precedent got set that you're allowed to email people warrants because they couldn't find her location? I think that
was a weird thing. You're right. You're right.
So they actually used...
Listen, again, I find it hard to believe they didn't know where she was.
Right.
So some of the reports the Jackmans were telling me were that she holed herself up and locked herself in her bedroom for hours before the FBI got in there. Again, I think she has intelligence connections. I think there's a ton of evidence, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
So I think she felt safe, and she probably got burned by one of her insiders.
So you had been talking about how that house 2 years ago that she was in didn't exist. And that one of the local municipal government people had mentioned that.
Yeah.
And I thought that was super interesting, because what it does is maybe that $1 million or whatever that they bought the house for was actually just the property. And since it closed in December, that house has been built there.
I'm wondering how. I was wondering how quick. Yeah. They had the property up there at the time of sale. That's where the real estate thing was.
It? Okay.
For the 1-1. But again, that doesn't mean.
Did it show it on whatever listing it was? Because
yes, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
But again, the heat was on more than 2 years ago. He was arrested now 13 months ago, and you got to think even 2 years ago if he was up there. You got to clear the land out because it was definitely a clearing.
Yeah.
And construction of something like that's got to be a year. And they bought it in September. So I'm wondering if they cut a deal
in months if you have enough people to do it.
Well, I'm just saying,
if you get 400 people on a construction site, you can have a house done.
Maybe it was an entrepreneur thing. The guy did it, and they liked it, and they bought it. That's a very possibility. Or maybe it was scoped out beforehand. Yeah. Again, East Coast stuff. Again, that's side notes. Let's find out where this goes. Go watch my Dan Dix video, because I think that me and Dan did a pretty good 20-minute segment where I think, because a lot of people, think that I should be rejoicing. A lot of people think that I should be saying she's already on a beach and cut a deal. I'm never that guy. I'm the guy that waits to see what's happening.
Well, I think the only thing we should really be saying is who killed Ghislaine Maxwell.
Everybody's gonna. It's everywhere. I mean, Building 7 didn't kill itself.
Right.
All right.
Did you know that? You probably know this, but real quick on the Building 7 note, the University of Fairbanks, Alaska, released a study after however long it's been since 9/11 now that says for sure
the documentary's coming. Yeah, Dylan Avery. That's my boy. I mean, that's who I did Loose Change with.
It's fucking huge.
Oh, you know that there's I had him on 2 weeks before I left. Not even a week and a half. I saw him a couple days before I left. But the movie's just around an hour, but a 5-minute cut has been playing on PBS nationally.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to watching the whole thing. Let's see. What's my Mama Lena Bean says? Praying the people will be held accountable for crimes against children against Julian Assange. Yes. Well, listen. We can't have it both ways. We can't be blind to the fact that the justice system seems to be doing something good with Ghislaine Maxwell, but there's many red flags that the cover-up crew is in place and visually in your face doing bad things to Julian Assange. Yeah. After loving the WikiLeaks. Can't get enough of the WikiLeaks. Folks, I would let Julian Assange suck on my tits to be president. Not really. That's something Trump would never do. That'd be. Can you imagine that? Maybe we have to make that.
That's going to come out as Democratic spin propaganda now.
Yeah, you know what? My bad joke is bad.
But so his prosecution shows the compliant duality to the national security state. How both parties, regardless of horse and pony show, Pelosi ripping up a speech, are both going full fucking bore after Julian Assange and against our rights, with the Earn IT Act.
Yep.
And literally making it so that way everything that touches the internet has to go through a government-approved server first.
All right, let's keep it up. Thank you, Crusader. We will. Why did Maxwell try to flee the country? Listen, obviously, first of all, Jeffrey Epstein was coming in from another country. Remember, that's how they nailed him. Mm-hmm. So I would assume right there her contact said, "Don't try to flee the country; they'll get you at the airport."
Right. And an interesting take on that too is as a way to try to say, "I'm not going to flee. You can give me bail, or I can bond out. I'm not a flight risk. I stayed here in the country while this."
That's what Dershowitz was arguing, and when me and Dershowitz wrote this big piece that basically said, I heart Ghislaine Maxwell. I am Alan Dershowitz. I am an unapologetic piece of Luciferian filth. I mean, that's literally, again, when you're a professional lawyer and you're not a even prosecutors, I don't trust a lot of times too. You get into that profession, especially if the case isn't great and you're like, I don't know, should I do this? It's like, how do you live with yourself if you put an innocent person in jail or unjustly prosecute? I couldn't cut those backdoor deals on other people's lives.
Yeah, I mean, that's nothing for them though. That's these people are the ones responsible.
Dershowitz is like, who cares? God.
Yeah. They're responsible
behind closed doors. Alan Dershowitz. I'm just going to say this: I don't believe you're a good person. Okay, we'll leave it there. Let's see. She thought she was untouchable. Will she tell all? I doubt it. Again, go watch the Dan Dix interview, guys. Press for Truth. It's releasing it later today. What up, JB? Hey there, Burmese Brigade. Scott, I hope you're well too. She has a house next to the Israeli embassy in Paris. If she fled, she might have been killed eventually. At this point, she might be safer in a country club prison. I don't know. Listen, man, again, if they want you dead, like Whitey Bulger died the second day after or the week he got transferred. If they want you dead,
they'll do it anywhere, anytime.
Oh, it's Whitey Bulger, ruthless mafioso murderer. They let off the hook for a long time. Also on the run for a long time.
Mhm.
Found bodies in his basement, in the cement, in his house, like when they dug it. I mean, that kind of cold-blooded guy. He was working for the FBI the majority of the time. He was a gangster.
Mhm.
Okay.
I mean, the FBI is responsible for the majority of the child pornography on the internet. That they set up honey traps and literally distribute child pornography across the internet to fight child pornography on the internet.
It's the weirdest thing in the world.
Yeah.
But again, as soon as they moved Bulger to the right place, I don't know where we got killed. They still haven't arrested anybody for that. And I mean, and that's a guy that lived by a code of deception and keeping his mouth shut. And they still didn't want him around, just in case. Just in case, at the last moment of his dark predator class serving Luciferian lifestyle, he decided to repent and say, hey, this is what I know. They don't want you around.
Yep.
All right, let's see what we got. Sing Like a Bird. Game over, man. Game over. Yeah, I thought it was game over with Epstein. Guess what? It wasn't.
I mean, at this point, it's almost game over for like a non-Orwellian society. Like that's the.
We're already there. Listen, man. Even in this state, which has been pretty good. Like I didn't have to sign a waiver. They still were like wouldn't let people sit at the bar that were clearly going to be even 6 feet away from me, and they were like little distance discs. Like I put it on Twitter.
That is fucking painful.
Taylor actually, I think
you have to go to the more rural parts of Ohio because there COVID doesn't even exist.
Well, again, man, we're not even. I'm going to outside of Dayton next.
Yeah.
That's probably the next spot. So I'll spend a couple days here, like I said, guys, and then I'm going to spend a day or two outside of Dayton. As long as my car's holding up.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
You need to check out like a Zanesville or a Cambridge kind of area. Like something that's like in the woods but still has a couple Dollar Generals.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm trying to find a forever home. And I honestly don't know how it's not going to be the Midwest.
Yeah.
Like, at this point. Yeah.
For sure.
Jason, what do you think will Ghislaine name or snitch? Thanks, broski. Keep up the work. Well, again, with Dan Dix, I said they'll probably burn some of the names that are out there.
Yeah. It's not who she snitches on. It's who the media decides to hyper-focus on as part of the larger burn operation. Like, as part of whoever they're trying to, like...
And it will only be names that are out. And it won't be royalty. Like Prince Andrew, I hate to tell you guys.
Like, he'll die in some lavish way at his house as he just gets, like, whisked off to the moon base or something.
I mean, dude, Andrew's not going anywhere. Yeah. Like, he's what's-her-name's favorite kid, unless the hand of God or nature or whatever you believe takes him.
What I'm most concerned about is them faking it. Like,
they won't.
Like faking
the royal
their death
family.
or leaving.
See, this is the thing.
It's like the plot of Atlas Shrugged, if you've ever read that, how they just go away. How these leaders that have been exposed just walk away with their wealth and...
Listen.
Yeah.
The royal family doesn't play that game. They will kill you.
I mean, that's fucking fair.
Like they don't. Listen, other institutions play that game. 100%. Smart people play that game when they get too...
But they're old money, too. That's why.
They are, like, literally among... It's like, they have no reason to play that game. Right. They literally killed Prince Charles' wife in front of the world.
The Anonymous released statements by the hitman that killed Diana.
Really?
Yeah.
When?
This was back when the George Floyd protests started popping off.
Wow, I had no idea about that.
It was put out alongside Operation Death Eater.
And what did he say?
That basically it was a controlled operation to kill Diana because she was going to expose the human trafficking rings within the royal family.
That's what she's saying, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, it was part of, I think it was Operation Death Eater, which may in and of itself, I don't know or not know, maybe a limited hangout, but they even released court documents that supposedly show connections, like direct connections with named children for the Trump and Epstein cases.
Steve just texted me. He said he's buying a compound. I don't want to give away the state, but he's in the next 6 to 8 months. He should. That's hilarious. Oh, I gotta read that stuff. But that's the truth, guys. Listen, if you believe that the paparazzi took out Diana you didn't study it. Okay, they brazenly did it in front of the world. The other thing that worries me about them is they live forever. like Prince Philip is he's right. He's getting in car accidents at 90 plus.
Well, think about the expansion of human technology over the last 2 decades and what having that much money can give you access to.
Well, I know what they have had for thousands of years, including now. grooms of the stool. Do you know what a groom of the stool is?
No.
This was an old Alex Jones favorite. So, if you guys out there in YouTubeverse are new to Jason Burmis and you don't know what the groom of the stool is, this tells you everything you need to know about these people. They have positions for the royal family where it is your job every day to go into the feces of the royal member, king, queen, prince, whatever, and dissect the poop and check into it and make sure everything is proper. You are the groom of the stool.
Do they still do that?
Yes.
Well, I mean, at least
That's a real thing.
Listen, at least they're worried about their digestive health.
Well, my point is, not only do they have the most medicine, they literally have someone inspecting their shit every single day to make sure there's nothing off.
How much do you think that guy gets paid?
I mean, hopefully a lot.
Yeah.
I would assume back in the day.
Because if it were in the
Not
U.S.,
much.
he would be like a prison slave that gets sent over there to do that. That's terrible.
It's just, we're there. We're there, man. Game over, man. Let's see. Hillary is to be in court in September. Is that, again, made up or is that real? And what for? People have forgotten about Assange, I know it. Ask our Sean Atwood in the UK to help you raise the money. His channel gets lots of people on there, and he's covering Maxwell. Yeah, he covers a lot of stuff. I like Sean. Yeah, good luck with Sean. Let's see. Assange looks like singer from Korn. Listen, Jonathan Davis and Assange should put a piece out together. Like, John Davis is pretty awakened to this stuff when he used to hate politics.
I need to find some way to get in contact with people like that, like Rage Against the Machine, fucking Korn, to get them to come to DC to do a protest for that time.
You know what? Because Rage, you got a chance with. Maybe you get Morello.
Yeah, there's so many people in the music industry that have been the target.
You know what? Morello's bought into a lot of the Russia bullshit. He probably thinks Assange is a fucking terrorist now.
It's fucking crazy.
Shame on you if you do, Tom. Shame on you if you do. Shame. Let's see. The legal precedent this will create is monumental. Agreed. When do you think the court cases on Ghislaine will start? And do you think he will be released? She will be released. I don't know what that means. Again, Friday. Friday we'll find out what the detention hearing is, and we'll start to get a little bit more information. I'll tell you what. You know who's going to have up-to-date information? Big Fish on Twitter, @TreyBillion. He kills it. He sends me so many good tips. Haven't been on in a while, but if you want base articles and base information, there's not much of a better researcher out there. So
Mr. K00001 on Twitter too.
Also is big on this now.
Well, just in general researcher, Mr. K00001, like all the zeros in.
I gotcha, and the number one, right? There we go. Let's see. Entire Epstein case is a distraction. I disagree. I think it's going to be limited hangout, but definitely not a distraction. Howdy, how we doing? All publishers and editors will be liable if the arrest of Assange is extradited. They already are. They're trying to make that a thing now. So
what it'll do, just to break it down, the other journalistic institutions or any institution going forward that decides to report on war crimes will have to either get approval through a government source to do so. Like literally verify that, yes, we are allowed to release this. It's not in violation of the Espionage Act to do so. Mm-hmm. Or it will give the government the ability at any time to grab a journalist out of any institution. And even more terrifying, those journalists that worked on those cases back then, the Iraq war logs, the Afghanistan war diaries, and even all the way through Volt 7 and the OPCW leaks, they will be able to punish those journalists retroactively. Because that's what this is they didn't go after him 5 years ago for this. They didn't go after him.
Well, they tried to put a stamp on it just like 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. You know, they didn't add any charges in these new indictments, just more allegations and associations to let everybody know, hey, guys, our balls are on the table, and we're going to let you know that we're chopping yours off. And here's some more names for y'all. Lulsec.
This is coming out at the same time that Anonymous has released the Death Eater operation, which exposes associates within the Epstein ring, like specifically names people's names with Donald Trump and Epstein gang raping them, essentially. The exposures from Princess Diana, and I don't know if those are true or not. That's
the other problem.
But there's also,
you know what? Let's talk about that for a second. With Operation Death Eaters, I've read some of it, not all of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of it seems to be legitimate, but we know WikiLeaks has a perfect record.
Right. And
there are other organizations that do not have a perfect record.
And I'm not saying that Death Eaters is or isn't real. I'm just saying those have been put out into the public. But also, they've been working hand in hand with the George Floyd and Black Lives Matter protests. Regardless of what you think about it, they have been attacking police systems and infrastructure. But also, they dropped 269 gigabytes of unreleased police documents.
Really?
Showing just abuses of power, police misconduct, just literal like assault on the street by police officers.
Basically, all the reports they get, and then they're reviewed and they're let off the hook. But then you see the amount of evidence, and you're like, "Well, that's corrupt as fuck." And that needs to be reined in, guys. Like that's a real issue. Police brutality, corruption is a real issue.
Because this came from the propaganda rings first. We actually found out on Monday that Julian's lawyers, the prosecution, and Judge Vanessa Baraitser never even received a copy of the expanded indictment for the Conspiracy to Commit Computer Intrusion Act.
Okay.
And so, in my opinion, what it's trying to do is the heavily propagandized name of Julian Assange, like oh, rapist, blah, 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 like all of the bullshit that has been put out for 10 years.
Sure.
They're trying to put that alongside of Anonymous because of their work against the police state. Because they're the ones that have been shutting down like the snitch lines and shit like that.
So, that was an interesting take. So, basically, we were talking about what are these all about? And a lot of us have talked about dividing America, destroying culture. These are almost mainline talking points. Normalizing rioting, right? Violence, all those other things. But the other thing that I thought was really interesting is this is a tool to profile people that once they may wake up to the bigger picture, that maybe we aren't racially divided, that, oh my goodness, my white neighbor and my Chinese neighbor and my Indian neighbor and me are all getting rounded up now.
Yeah.
All because, oh my goodness, if they wake up, then hey, they're the ones that might get violent first, that say, I don't give a fuck.
Because the predator class uses race to divide us, but then picks us off based on ideology. So they'll allow the people that don't give a fuck and will go to work every day and not care. And they'll allow the people that are openly pro-authoritarian and buy the propaganda. But what they don't allow is people like this. And there'll come a time where instead of having to fight to get someone's YouTube channel remonetized or a Twitter account back, there's going to have to be a free Jason Burmis vigil or a free Andrew Smith.
Let's hope that's never happening.
Right, but that's the road that we're going down really quickly right now.
If you're even allowed to put it out there. I mean, right now there's even corporate pressure on Facebook to do even more censorship than they have.
Yeah.
And conspiracy theories are right up there. And think about the conspiracy theories they already just censored during COVID 1984. The conspiracy theory that vitamin D might fight it. The conspiracy theory that doctors were prescribing antibiotics and steroids.
And the World Health Organization's conspiracy theory that it doesn't have human-to-human transmission.
But they promoted that one.
Right,
See, they didn't censor that one. That's the difference. They took all those other things off that are now been stated by authoritative sources and you can post, without a fact check on it, but which is even more. I mean, guys, this is not I wake up every day, and it is Groundhog Day, and it doesn't seem to be getting better.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. And honestly, it's not Groundhog Day. It's Groundhog Day on steroids because it actually gets worse every day.
It does.
And
there is no comparison in pop culture or otherwise to describe what is actually taking place in the mechanisms behind the scenes of our civilization to keep it functioning at this point.
No, exactly. I mean, again, think about it. The stock market is somehow artificially inflated. People are making more money not working.
Oil became negative
for the first time
ever in human history. And in my opinion, that's literally the selling of our empire. Oil goes negative. We get paid to take 75 million barrels of oil and just walk away from everything that we're doing as a nation.
It's the nuttiest thing.
Yeah, because that's how globalism works. That's how every trade deal, every negotiation happens, is the exchange of money and power between elites. And I think that's what we're experiencing, especially with the way the oil market dropped and then we as a country literally got paid to take all of the oil that was previously $50 a barrel.
It's a wacky world.
Yeah, we literally handed our empire over and was like, maybe you can do better.
Well, again, it was a consolidation of power, but
Right.
I know what you mean. Yeah,
Right.
So cool beard, serious beard. Thumbs up.
So real quick, I was talking to Jason about this beforehand. Ray McGovern started a movement called Beards for Assange. Currently, it's Ray McGovern, myself, and Steve Poikinen. And when Julian was taken out of the embassy, if you remember, he had this really disheveled beard. And it's because the Ecuadorian embassy and their private security contractor, UC Global, took all of Julian's razors and scissors and literally the shit to cut his hair and shave his face. So Ray McGovern decided that as a way to remember to constantly or at times put up a little prayer or thought for Julian, he grew a beard. And when you get asked by Ray McGovern, hey, will you grow a beard with me? You don't say no. So I would like to invite everyone with the ability to grow a beard in the audience to do so, simply in support of Julian. Ray McGovern has pretty good pieces on beards for Assange right now. He's written an article, and Steve actually did an interview with Gordon Dimmick about it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. So what we got? We got a boom. If you believe anything other than MSM, you are now considered a terrorist. Yeah, well, you're not wrong. Hey there, Alyssa. It was illegal to remove him from the embassy. Yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
Skipping bail. Trump is the deep state. He moved the embassy in Jerusalem and gave the Golan Heights to Israel. Another piece of the great Israel from Euphrates to NIL.
Messed up.
What's that?
That out of all of the comments, that's the one that YouTube hides.
Yeah, I know. I mean, all that was
hidden like that.
Well, what do you have for the emojis? Oh, those. Yeah, but no, you're right. And well, it could be deep state. It could be Israel.
Yeah.
You know.
I just think it's weird that that's the one that gets hidden.
I don't want to do that. How do I unhide it? I'll show.
Yeah. That's strange that that's the one.
I mean,
like out of
so
all
far,
the shit that people could say.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, I'm sure we'll see other ones. We didn't take a lot of questions yet. It'll probably jump soon.
That's fair.
Hey, boom, more like fizzle. No, it was legal. Embassy okayed it. Thanks.
Well, so the reason it was illegal is because Julian, when he got asylum, also got citizenship status from the country of Ecuador. And per Ecuador's constitution, you can't just take citizenship away. When you are an Ecuadorian citizen, regardless of by birth or by granted, or it being granted, you are an Ecuadorian citizen with inalienable rights. And the president that came in just said, well, to hell with that. That's not true. We're taking it away. Go in and get him. So it was a literal war crime for the UK government to enter in and remove him, because legally he should still have asylum and citizenship status, because it can't just be removed.
All right. So Assange is just down the road from me. Kev's out in the UK. So here's a lie. All right. See, this is a misrepresentation. This is like the exact opposite of what reality is.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually talked about this on Dan Dix's. So this guy's going John Doe video of a man called the jail. I mean, it's, even with the big letters, and they can't even get out a sentence. No bond, release date, or records of her. Actually, that's not true. So a YouTuber named Spiro actually did call the jail.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, there was a record of her there. In fact, they said the prisoner's name was Ghislaine, or I think Ghislaine or Ghislaine Maxwell.
Mm-hmm.
He said the name. They didn't give a bond date, and they didn't give the charges, or actually the two things. But no, those are the records.
Yeah.
And again, if you're following the case, if you can read, you're watching this, right? I'm reading the comments. You wrote the comments. It wasn't much of a coherent sentence, but you did it. You did it. You can not only watch that, but you can make the phone call too. And again, if you read, you can find out that she, again, has foregone any legal proceedings in New Hampshire.
And everyone should make that fucking phone call. Everyone should look up where she's is or is
That's
not.
That's fine. I'm all for it. But like,
what that does is it creates more public pressure.
Yeah.
It lets them know, like, holy shit, there was like 900 hits on Ghislaine Maxwell's number line, and then no one else gave a fuck about anyone else in this prison. Like, we were like, not we as in me, but them speaking, the establishment or predators are being watched when that happens.
Well, yeah, listen, there's going to be a media circus Friday when she goes into Manhattan. A media circus. I mean, I don't know how there wouldn't be. Yeah. You're going to get your pictures, guys. I guarantee you. And you're going to get something.
And this is in the lockdown Manhattan, right? This is in the one that they're trying to close.
Yes.
Again. And they're just going to let all these journalists and reporters be all close up on each other.
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
It is fucked up. Oh,
A good thing they
yeah.
weren't in Michigan.
Yeah. All right, so let's see. 11 likes, 171 people watching. Hit the like button, everyone. Let's thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. And go check them out over at Action for Assange as well. Steve Slow News Day, of course. He rebroadcasts or simulcasts those segments as well. It's one crazy world. Nothing surprises me anymore. I agree. It's the movie Running Man with these mainstream media outlets say, I love The Running Man.
I've never seen it.
Oh, my God. It is.
I've never even seen The Matrix.
So forget about The Matrix. The Matrix is, it's okay.
I mean, it's Buddhism.
Listen, the first one's enjoyable. The second ones are like popcorn, Bruce Willis, anything without Bruce Willis.
I've never seen
sci-fi. I'm just saying, Running Man, probably my favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Crazy, crazy underrated. Written by Stephen King under a pseudonym when he was just the Richard Bachman book. So when he was really raw and just awesome. And it is brilliant. And it is so relevant to today's society, not only because of the deep fake technology that's there, not only because of the game show culture that we've actually created in our society now, but the framing of a government right from the beginning that frames a man who refuses to fire on a group of starving protesters that they name what? Terrorists in the deep fake video they create of him killing those people even though he refused.
Yeah.
Oh, and that is how that movie begins. I'm not going to ruin much else. It's one of my favorites. Jesse Ventura in it.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, if you haven't seen it, man, it is the 80s.
So,
it's got its 80s cheese. It's got its 80s cheese because it's in the future. You know what I mean? It's not perfect. But as far as like even one-liners for Schwarzenegger.
Well, so Steve says it a lot that we live in a fucking cartoon, right? And you have Jesse Ventura, a former professional wrestler, running or talking about running for president against a former funder and performer at professional wrestling.
A WWE Hall of Famer.
Yeah. While if you remember in 2016, the Draft the Rock shit was going on, trying to get that professional wrestler to run for office. So the whole thing is literally just turning into professional
They're actors. It is professional wrestling.
It's so painful.
And the thing is that's why people don't understand that Trump probably won the fucking popular vote.
Can you imagine if like Hulk Hogan were responsible for like the Security and Exchange Commission?
Well, that's the whole fucking idiocracy. He was a professional wrestler in that.
I know.
Let's see. Is the guy next to Jason wearing a disguise? He is not.
No, I wear my Guy Fawkes mask on the outside.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like versus people watching are not even close to accurate. Yeah, what are you going to do? I lost a lot of subscribers this week already. I gained a bunch, and then I'm losing a bunch. I'll probably lose a bunch on this one. And I think this is a fun live stream. If they knew where she was, why wasn't she put on ice? Again, lots of questions, man. Listen, you know what I'm not? I'm not Jesus Christmas up in the sky with an omnipotent amount of knowledge on something like that. I don't know. Listen, I don't know how you get tens of thousands of people out in the street over something that is egregious, and I guess it's there. Nothing said and about the COVID exposure there, but now it's a month and a half later, and they're telling people they can't go to rallies, and Joe Biden's not going to hold a rally. I mean, we're in the friggin'.
Ron Paul actually quite often like makes jokes about the fact that every Democratic mayor is shutting down everything while at the same time promoting everyone being together in the street.
It's the weirdest thing.
And the statistics have come out that because it's been about 6 weeks now, since the start of these protests, there hasn't been a significant increase
in any of those areas.
Yeah.
No.
Period.
The only time we now have a significant increase of cases, number one, is because of more testing, and you are getting about double the hospitalizations. But again, double the hospitalizations.
But hospitals are also letting people come into the hospital now.
Yes.
Where before, if you had a symptom of anything and you went to the hospital, they just said, well, go the fuck home or you're going to have to do a video meeting.
And the mortality rate has shot down to like the 0.1%.
Yeah, and the government-run healthcare now that has rolled out through this, where even if you go in with a broken arm, if they hear you sniffle, they'll stamp coronavirus on your paper because it's guaranteed to be paid by the government, where most people can't afford the outrageous amount of medical bills that it would cost to pay for it themselves.
It's craziness.
Yeah.
Jason, never forget this scandal. No matter how hard other pushed fake stories to bury this one, Jason stayed focused. Good job. Well, thank you, Mama Lena B. If they knew where she wasn't asked, another question I can't answer. That sounds great. I pray they get the monsters associated with Ghislaine Maxwell. Yeah, no, I want the Jean-Luc Brunels, the Claude Hadids, the Les Wexners, right? We need those guys. Because
WikiLeaks, so to tie it together, I think WikiLeaks would be an amazing format for a hacktivist or leaktivist to publicly disclose this information, like the shit that is being destroyed and the shit that they're not telling anyone, because WikiLeaks is admissible in court. That's been proven internationally around the world. So even if they aren't going to be held responsible in the United States, if they were committing these acts of literal child rape around the world, they can still be held responsible in those other countries.
Yeah,
so long as
there.
Right, so long as it gets legally put into court records.
Oh, what do we got here? Why didn't the FBI have a gang of reporters in tow when they arrested Maxwell like they did with Roger Stone? I mean, all right, I'll tell you why. I mean, it's almost like self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Roger Stone was a spectacle the media hyped up, and as much as I don't like Roger Stone, he's not guilty of anything they fucking found him guilty of.
And it's fucking hilarious.
It's none of it. Yeah. So they had to make a huge spectacle of that, whereas Ghislaine Maxwell, on the opposite end of that, probably, and I have to say probably so this doesn't get taken down, is guilty of much more than she has been charged with. Do you not see the dichotomy? Like, again, when I hear things like that, I'm just like, it's because what that person's trying to say is she hasn't been arrested. She's probably on an island somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's just ludicrous thinking. I mean, think about it. Roger Stone, first of all, the person that tipped the media off probably got a little pretty penny. Got a little pretty penny for CNN. Oh, yeah, and then CNN is part of that intelligence apparatus that wants Roger Stone in the first place. Of course they were going to be there with cameras.
Yeah.
Whereas Ghislaine Maxwell was probably protected for a very long time for a sect of that intelligence community, and someone in there at least pseudo-burned her at this point as she got picked up.
Right.
So there wouldn't be media all over the place. Man, I mean, that one's not a hard one, guys. But I get it. We all love message boards and Q, and
it's painful at this point.
Oh, that is
like
painful.
ever since 2017, the attacks in Syria, where QAnon literally says just missiles. Like, we commit an international fucking war crime against a country that didn't invade us after it was...
After we've already done that for 5+ years.
Right. After it came out through WikiLeaks, the Syrian war files, that the entire civil war there was manufactured by United States intelligence, the message boards say just missiles. Like, just an international war crime. Just nothing to worry about.
Just Operation Timber Sycamore. No big deal. No big deal. Just little CIA boots on the ground. Little funding. Little gunning, huh? Little running, little McCainin. No big deal. The fuck are you thinking? I know, man. And that's why I was on Trump's side 3 weeks before those missiles rained down when he was going, it's time to leave Syria. Hasn't said that since, has he? It's 2+ years.
Hasn't even spoken about the OVCW list.
Never. No one has to.
Because if he does,
because we don't have real journalists in this fucking world.
So Tariq Haddad was a reporter for Newsweek over in the United Kingdom, and Newsweek it's a big publication, but it's not a mainstream publication really.
Not anymore. It used to be more when I was. Yeah. Because they used to put it in schools. Like, that's where I became
the Guardian or the New York Times anymore. And they wouldn't even let him publish the OPCW reports that came out from WikiLeaks, to the point that he just quit. He was like, I'm not lying. I'm not doing your propaganda. Like, this happened. These are facts of the world we live in. And Newsweek said, fucking pound salt and leave.
Yeah. Let's take another couple. I know that we didn't get anywhere near the end here. Actually, let's see if we can drop down to the end. Maybe we did. No, there. I was gonna say we didn't even come close.
Yeah.
Drufus is in there. What up, Drufus?
Hey, Drufus. How are you,
buddy? You're catching the tail end of this bad boy. Jason, support from Bosnia and Serbia. See, you put nations in there they don't like. Americans keep fighting for truth and freedom. We're all in the same. I mean, it's not shit that got that. You could get away with shit like probably Bosnia,
right,
or whatever.
Well, it's because there's pyramids in Bosnia.
Let's see. Did you watch with Cappy? Listen, I did an interview. I've talked to Cappy before the interview. I talked to Cappy about a month before his suicide, and yes, I do believe it to be a suicide. Watch my interview with Cappy. There's some legit stuff, and there's just stuff that went off the handle. Had nothing. I mean, he was a big Q believer, and look where it got him. Into some craziness, into some depression, into some shady dealings. Why was Berman fired? Was his skin in the game? I don't know. I did a video on that. It's tough to tell, with Berman. People wanted to say, again, just like people want to say Ghislaine Maxwell's going to rat on everybody, they wanted to say that he was gunning for Prince Andrew, and they were just like, no, maybe.
Yeah. All it does, unless they go after her as aggressively as possible, is put her in a negotiating position. Like, all it does is let her have the ability to be like, well, I know where this is, I know where that is, and unless they literally just have someone that's a loose cannon at all times. Which I would love for fucking everything to come out, so that way our government's no longer held hostage by people like that.
We've got some facts here. Jason, you're chatting shit. The groom of the stool was disbanded years ago. It looks like apparently. Listen, allegedly, the groom of the stool.
It's probably classified. Because the UK's public disclosure laws are fucking way more aggressive than the US, so it's probably classified.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Let's just take another couple. They watched her hide the biggest tracks like the FBI and CIA, maybe. She got picked up right after the SDNY DA got fired and replaced. Draining the swamp takes time. We'll see. Again, that's ridiculous. I don't think it has anything to do with that. If anything, it was to make Berman look bad and boost the Trump, that idea. But if you watch this broadcast, the proof is in the pudding, and the pudding is sour. Okay, it's sour pudding. It's not the kind of pudding you want. It's not the delicious chocolate side pudding. No, it's rancid, pus-like groom of the stool pudding. Okay.
Oh God, I couldn't imagine they probably made people do that shit for centuries.
I know, no, absolutely. Yeah. That's my point. Yeah. These are the people. That's when they don't give up their own.
That's crazy.
They don't care.
That's insane.
All right, guys, thumbs the video up. Subscribe over here. Action for Assange over there. Steve from Slow News Day didn't join us, but you subscribe over there, you'll get the same kind of content.
Look up Slow News Day podcast on YouTube. Because if you look up Slow News Day, it gives you this really weird...
Really?
Yeah, it's a weird show.
Okay.
Slow News Day podcast for Steve.
Remember, I am fully demonetized on this channel. The GoFundMe link is below. I am on the road, and I'm hoping I don't have to make a big car repair, but we're going to, after this, go take a look at the light in my car. And then we're going to be doing some Cleveland stuff a couple days, and then some Dayton stuff, and then some Kansas City stuff. So I love you guys, and I will see you on the flip side.